It's the Weird Rap Discussion Gang. We're back, and we're going to talk about Tierra Whack. We are going to start off with, this is from her YouTube channel. It's just called 71419 Freestyle.
You probably don't get it, that just shows you ain't worthy. Yes, I'm worthy. You would die for power. Charlie Murphy, my own blood hating on me, and that shit hurts me. Raised as a have not, Lord have mercy. Trying to get a Miller like Percy. That was weak, but if it's beef, we can meet like turkey. Cisco 12 now, body on 1230. Laid out. You wearing coat shoes like they ain't played out. Your man kicked you out, girl. You should have stayed out. What's a challenge to a champion? Stand on my ground like a mannequin. You want to be a real man, but you're just a mannequin. Panicky man, vanishes. Sweet like man, never speaking. The man never calling for help, but nobody's answering. Blessed because I woke up this morning, Anthony Hamilton. Yo, they hate to hear a girl rap.
Yeah, basically, I wanted to play that one just because I know like a lot of people out there probably know her mostly for Whack World and her more recent singles, and this is just like, you know, to show that she can rap her ass off if she wants to. You know, and I did some research on her this week and realized that she, like 10 years ago, she was known pretty well in the Philadelphia underground under a different name. She used to call herself Dizzle Diz. So she was still in high school, but she, like, you can look up a lot of her music from that time, and she's like just barring out like total like advanced battle rapper with super clever lyrics and throwing in all kinds of like conscious, like deep thought stuff in there too while she's battling. So yeah, she's amazing. She's like a prodigy, I guess. And like at this point, she's still only 24 years old. So, you know, I think she's got a bright future.
I think picking a freestyle was a good choice just because her being from Philly and being a part of that whole scene of like freestyle rappers before she came here. Traditional, non-traditional artists. Yeah, fucking Philly rappers just go in like way beyond necessary all the time. So it's awesome to see her continuing that tradition. And even like, have you seen the XXL freshman cypher?
Not with her on it, no.
Yeah, she was I think it was maybe 2 years ago she was part of the freshmen, and she did it with Roddy Ricch and Comethazine, and it was funny, like they were actually pretty good. They were on a beat doing their thing, they were rapping more so than doing the trap stuff, and then they just cut the beat off for her and just let her go a cappella on her own, and she did like 2 or 3 different styles, and you could tell even though she didn't want to be there, she was still like, I need to show that I'm better than everybody else that's connected to this here.
Yeah, I think that was a good dimension of her to see, because I'm kind of new to her work, so I came in with Whack World, and it's definitely more polished. But even with that stuff, I mean, I think you can tell the level of her craft. Like she's in complete control and command of her vocal and lyrical ability. I mean, yeah, it's super impressive. But yeah, it's nice to hear it a little bit more raw.
That control you mentioned was a note that I made that I forgot to put as well. Just how like swaggy and confident she was. And it looks like she's got a number of these too. So I'm going to have to go back and look through the other old freestyle.
Yeah, I always get the feeling like she can take it wherever she wants. You know, she could switch up the rhythm, vocal inflection, like whatever. It's just like anything's possible at the drop of a dime.
Yeah, check out the Dizzle Diz song called Dog Backwards too. That's a good example of when she was just like a junior in high school or something, just ripping it. But next up, this is...
Did you...
Oh yeah, go ahead.
Oh, just while you were on the topic of her in high school, you mentioned it a couple times. Did y'all catch any information about how she kind of got influenced to get going and how she really got her first taste of fame?
Well, not exactly, but I know that like after she was in Philly for her like senior year in high school, her family moved to Atlanta, and then she just like completely disappeared from the spotlight. Like I said, she did have quite a bit of eyes on her from her activity in Philly, but then she just, as the story goes online, she just was recording and filled up like 2 years worth of a hard drive of music that has still not seen the light of day. And then through her management, I guess she picked up a manager at some point, and that got her the major label deal. And with that, the name change. And then shortly before Whack World came out, she released like just a few singles, and then Whack World was her real like explosion into the major spotlight.
Yeah, like right before the Atlanta move, she got put on I don't remember what website it was, but it was a deal where her mom was driving her to her grandmother's house, and when they were almost there, they saw a bunch of guys freestyling on the street corner and some people with like some big cameras. And her mom had always been real supportive, so she was like, "You need to get out there and freestyle." And she was all nervous about it, but mom circled the block and pushed her out the car, and the rest of that is on YouTube. You know, she's like freestyling, and you see one of the guys really take a liking to her. And I forget what that guy's name is, but he was like an influencer and the guy that put it all together. And he was like, "Yeah, you need to stick with this. You're dope." And then the Atlanta move happened and everything else you mentioned.
Interesting.
Yeah, so the freestyle was perfect, and then bringing up the past, because it all like converged at the perfect time for her, it seems.
Next up, we have Clones. This is a track, this came out like mid 2019, I think.
Where about you bound? Everybody walking like me now. Everybody talking like me now. Word I'm with it when it be now. Whack, whack, dab, shit, killer. Watch it got holes in the dinner. I ain't been home in a minute. I ain't never seen no ceiling. Come guy, yeah, he nailin'. Audio, I'm top billin'. All of my boys dope dealin'. Super whack, I'm no villain. Nigga try to take my flow. Who the hell he think he is? I just wanna make my dough.
I selected this one because this was the first song that I heard after Whack World. I heard it on the Lovecraft Country show on HBO.
Yeah.
And yeah, it was that part, the real repetitive chorus part. And then when I looked into the song, I dug how she was kind of doing what's considered the Migos flow, I guess. You know, she's kind of like rocking on that with the little ad libs and everything. But when you look into what she's saying, she's just, again, going hard with the lyrics, just doing way too much. And just the energy from this song I love too. It's one of those songs that drives itself forward.
Yeah, my favorite part is the ad lib where she says ad lib. And I also like how the song starts with a sneeze. It's like, apparently it's her engineer sneezing, and then she's like, "Keep that. Don't delete that."
Yeah, she's got a sense of humor for sure. I love it.
Yeah, I like that she's not afraid to be a little bit silly. But yeah, I think this is a good example of a song that's just so like sonically simplistic and lyrically too, like, but simple and effective.
Yeah. In a couple of interviews I saw with her, she just talked about how she liked really open beats, and then it seems like working within that Migos flow, you kind of do work within that, and you're like stretching the boundaries of a constraint.
I thought conceptually the track might be addressing male rappers, you know, like the stereotypical male rapper is like the clone. And it seems like she's being critical of like this, like she's almost mocking that struggle for the male to like be the alpha. And like I'm different, and I don't have the lyrics here, but it seems like that bragging aspect that a lot of rappers, the typical rapper, tends to have. She's kind of like mocking that in a way. I don't know if I'm reading that right or not, but that's what I got from it.
No, I can see that. I think that's kind of a natural, or not the mocking thing, but the sort of like braggadocio aspect of it is kind of just the natural Philly part of MCing, but I could see it sort of being like a takedown of the male, like stereotypical MC structure, power structure.
Could be. I don't know. I was looking at the lyrics. I think that might be reading too much into it personally. I think it's literally just she's saying people want to be like her. People are trying to copy her because she's the shit. But I could be wrong.
I think it's open. It's all open, you know?
Yeah. Next up, this is Dora. This song came out in late 2020. Another single.
Please have common sense. Open the door. Tell her that you're ready to explore. Yeah, adventure door. Yeah, I had to talk him, I got bored. I need support. Like I sports my bay, I need support. I say less is best, but I need more. Shooter took me shopping, took it fuck with you no more. When I go to sleep, Gucci sheets now. Going out to eat, don't eat no meat now. Yeah, we from the street, you get a beat down. Skin tan, cause we living on the beach now.
Yeah, I just really like that instrumental. It's interesting, like choir backup kind of vocal sample or whatever it is in there. And it's a good example too, I think, of how she's really great at just changing her voice a lot. Just all these different voices that you'll hear throughout her discography, just changing it up and making it really interesting with a nice variety of vocal styles and ranges and pitch and everything. And lyrically, honestly, like, I think a lot of the lyrics in the songs that she's released since Whack World are not that deep. Like, maybe she's just kind of having fun and breathing a bit in between. Maybe she'll get a little bit deeper for her next album, because I think Whack World does go in interesting directions lyrically, but for this song, it really just seems like she's saying she wants a man with money. And that's kind of always disappointing for me to hear people just kind of focusing so much on materialism. But again, she's young. She's like got room to grow. So I don't know. Not gonna be too hard on her.
Yeah, I mean, I'll maybe talk about that and try to unpack it later on when we get into the opening track. And that's something I had a hard time trying to decipher. And if there was like an example of a music critic wrote about Prince Paul's use of Hall & Oates, and they were like, oh, it's like this, he's mocking Blue Eyed Soul, that it's like, a white person imitating a black soul singer, and he's like appropriating that and bringing it back into a hip hop context and using it as an ironic weapon. And then when they interviewed Prince Paul, he was like, oh no, I just love Hall & Oates. It's like, and I wonder like if I'm kind of doing that with her or not, because I think that some of this stuff like you're saying is like materialistic. I think it's kind of tongue in cheek. At least that's my read of it. But I could be over intellectualizing it at the same time. It could just be fun. And, but I don't know. I think like the visuals, she's got Alex DeCourte on this, pretty well-known contemporary artist. And this like visual of like, just like you open one door, but there's another one. And I think like it's kind of self-defeating in a way. So she knows, maybe has that thought and isn't afraid to entertain it and express it. But at the same time with these visuals, she's kind of undermining those efforts or adding complexity to that argument. So
yeah,
I don't know, I'll put that out there.
I could be under intellectualizing it and taking things too literally, but like you mentioned the videos, and yeah, the videos are pretty much amazing for all the tracks. They're definitely a great compliment to the music all around.
And I kind of did a interview deep dive with her, being somewhat familiar with her catalog already. I started just sort of seeing what was making her tick and seeing what she had to say. And it seems to me that for the singles after Whack World, she was kind of going for, I don't want to use the term style over substance because it makes it sound like she's like purposely being shallow or like she's not capable of talking about multi-layered stuff. But she was talking about how she'll be in the midst of writing and recording a song, and then she'll get in touch with the people that she's working with visually on like the cover, and she's like, here's the idea I have for the cover while I'm writing the song, and then they're shaping the video, and the video was like informing the chorus of the song and things like that. So I think she's thinking about all those elements together as a presentation more so than like, here's what I'm trying to say with the song.
Awesome.
Like, yeah, although for this one, she mentioned it briefly in the interview, and I could see how it could definitely be read as like a materialistic thing, but it was sort of a materialism in the context of during the shelter-in-place era of COVID. So it's like we're all stuck inside. We can't necessarily go out and do these things. I want to go out and explore. I want to go out and buy all this money. Or not buy this money, but buy these things. Have these things bought for me. I want to tour, I want to be out there doing my thing, so that was kind of what she was expressing with that, but it could 100% be read as like a, sugar daddy me up kind of song too. I could see that.
Well, that's cool to know that she has such a hand in the visuals, because they definitely add a whole new dimension to the music. And then we're going to get into one more of her like Lucy singles before we get into Whack World. This track is called Unemployed. It was part of a series of singles from 2019 called Whack History Month.
Coca-Cola, ahead of you, like a closure. When Troy died, I had to find some closure. Don't push me, bitch, I am not a stroller. Pop up on a nigga like bread and toast. A double D cup, you should use a coaster. I'm on the post and need a deli coaster, so I shop it over. Blue faces, and I call them growers, but if he can't rover, I'm that older. Wanna be like me when I get older. Talk to God, then he came over. Talk to God, then he came over. Got a job, I gotta do. I get down and dirty too. What it is, what it do. Same shit, nothing new. Got a job, gotta do. I get down and dirty too. What it is, what it do.
The video features a rapping potato, which is just awesome in my book.
Yeah, this song is actually the perfect example of what we were just talking about. This was kind of actually what I was referencing, where she was writing and then she hit up her artist and she was like, I want the cover to be a couch potato, which it did end up being, but then the couch potato was supposed to be eating French fries. And they didn't get that idea on the cover. But then as they got to doing the video, it became, let's build it around the potatoes because the potatoes are the element. And then she's like mashing them, dicing them, doing all the different stuff. And it ends up the potato eating the French fries. So like in a weird roundabout way, her idea came full circle. And yeah, that video is nuts. Did you see that video at all, Zach?
Yeah, I loved it. I mean, I had some rough times where there was a lot of potato eating. Like, how many different ways can you serve up a potato? So I was like, I remember that. And yeah, I mean, I think the humor in it is amazing. Like the hyper surrealism, and it seems she has like this kind of detached flow in that, and also a distant look in her eyes, and kind of detached in how she's playing this version of herself in the video. And I was thinking like maybe that's also like this self-reflexive, the job she's got to do could be peeling potatoes or being a housewife or being an MC or being part of the music industry or being a woman in America or whatever it is. It's all the same shit. You got to do it. The work has to get done. You got to serve somebody kind of thing. And I like that it's not this like glamorous aspect. She kind of is pulling back the curtain on whatever it is that we have to do.
Yeah, I really like that she runs against the grain as far as glamour, like you say. Like, I think she has like extra fat on her in that video, and a couple other videos she like makes herself really gross looking in various ways, like facial distortions and stuff, which is it's cool to see someone not being so obsessed with their looks.
Yeah, the video she got nominated for a Grammy for, a lot of people were like, she went overboard with it for Mumbo Jumbo, because it's all like the dentistry stuff.
Yeah, that's a great one. All right, so this is the first track off of Whack World, which came out in 2018. The track is called Black Nails.
Reading my open mail. This shit here won't sell. Best believe I'm gon' sell. If I just be myself, I'm ahead of your deals. Red paint on my nails. Keep shit to myself. Listen to myself. Writing bars in my cell. Rice next to my kale. Shirt holy like grail. Distant for my health. My name Whack ring bells. Yes, I've changed like whales. I'm doing so well.
Yeah, I picked that track. This was, the first thing I ever heard from her. Put this album on for this discussion, and I was like, this is not very good. And then the more I listened to it, I knew the visuals were very sophisticated, and that she's kind of challenging norms. So I was like, there's got to be something more to it. So the more that I listened to it, this is what I wrote. This is absolutely over intellectualizing, but I think it's worth stating. So I put that, the point of view of Whack World is carefully and artfully navigating the postmodern self-reflexive state that is ironically detached while being critical and sincere, navigating the trappings and possibilities of self under constant connection, broadcast, and surveillance. And I was thinking, like, what's the precedent for this? And I thought about Frank Zappa, Mothers of Invention, like their first album or two, like Cruising with Ruben and the Jets, like his fascination with doo-wop. And like, I think it was sincere because there's doo-wop that's beautiful and completely amazing, but there's also stuff from that genre that's completely cheeseball. And he liked both of those things. And I think it's possible to be, like I said, both critical of something and sincere at the same time. It doesn't have to be exclusive. And that, to me, what this opening is. I think like she's using that, like the flow that a lot of young artists have right now, in a way that is catchy. Like it's like sincerely like draws you in, but then it's also kind of self-aware and a little cheesy. So I think it inhabits, to me, like both of those things, like being critical and sincere at the same time, and self-aware, where like, she's got the busted face in this, and she's aware of all the eyes on her. So she's going to be, kind of challenge that and look back at the audience, in a way. So that's initially I thought it was an underwhelming opening, and then the more I listened to it, the more I thought about it. I thought it was like a perfect introduction to the perspective of this album.
Cool. Yeah, for me, I'm kind of with you as far as like sonically, the sort of pop R&B palette that runs throughout the album is something that I don't typically like listening to. So at first it was like kind of like not my wheelhouse, but the more I listened to it, the more I appreciated the weirder elements mixed in there, and then the lyrics and the the catchiness, and if I allow myself to really try to appreciate pop music for the construction of and the arrangement and what it can be when it's done well, I can appreciate it on that level. And like for pop music, like she's making some really catchy, like grade A shit throughout this album, and it's a pretty mellow opening track, but it's only a minute long, of course. All the songs on the album for people that don't know are just 1 minute long, 15 songs, 15 minutes. But yeah, for me, like lyrically, I feel like this song, it deals with some themes that run throughout the album, which are about self-care and believing in yourself. And I liked, there's one line where she says like writing bars in my cell, which is just an example of like her being clever, kind of, like being in a solitary confinement type of cell, writing, being whatever, isolated in some way. And the other meaning being like writing your raps in your cell phone.
Man, it's cool to hear y'all kind of talk about your perspective, taking it in and everything, just because I was curious what y'all's read was going to be on it. I had an idea that you would probably like it if you gave it more than just one listen. So it sounds like that's what happened, because that's kind of what happened with me too. The first time I heard it, I just didn't really know what to think of the project as a whole. Like, visually, it had me. I was captivated, and I think that's what works best for Black Nails for me. Like, it immediately put me in the mind state of Missy Elliott, and I was like, okay, I'm going to need to not look at this as just like your standard whatever rap. Like, this is somebody that's kind of being experimental on purpose, We're putting out accessible music, but we're also pushing the boundaries of what it can be, So that was the most impressive part of Black Nails for me. And then the isolation bars kind of jumped out at me too. The whole keep shit to myself, listen to myself, writing bars in myself, and all the distant from my health, So I was like, okay, we're dealing with somebody who's in their head a lot, So yeah, it's an interesting way to set off the album, but in 15 minutes, she goes in so many directions that I don't think there is just one song that you can be like, this is going to prepare you for everything that you're about to hear. So
Yeah.
It's a nice, simple door open.
Yeah. We'll get into Four Wings next.
Here goes some sweat you can bite off. Salt, pepper, ketchup, and hot sauce. Fry hard cause I do not like soft. My nigga shine with the lights off. Here goes some swag you can bite off. Open wide, look at God, homicides. I'm not perfect but I improvise. Drop shit and my niggas vibe. Endless nights I cried when Julito died. My city needs me, I promise I wouldn't fail them. If you love somebody, I promise that you should tell them. Ain't buying what you're selling.
I think, I can't find my notes, but I thought this was like a sexual commentary. And like kind of, it seems like she likes to take everyday things and find the absurdity or the humor in them or this dark side. And I thought, like the wings was just like a metaphor for the man. And I had more specific things on getting into the lyrics, but I don't know why I can't find them. Sorry. Yeah, that was my general read on it.
I had the same read initially when I heard this song, like even up to or the other day when I looked up the lyrics, I thought it was the whole shine with the lights off. I thought was sort of like the table setter for it being a sexual song, but I looked up who Julito was because I wasn't familiar with who that was, and he was a Philly rapper that got murdered in 2016. That was like an up and coming guy, and knowing who that was and looking at the lyrics changed the whole context of the song for me. And it really seems like a song about like appreciating people when they're around and then leaving the best impression you can because you don't know when your lights are going to be off. And I don't know why it's four wings, but I think the wings are an allusion to angels and whatnot.
Mm-hmm.
I do feel the sexual idea that you're saying, Zach, but then yeah, the mention of the dead guy in the middle doesn't make a lot of sense in that context. But again, with the visual, there's the like half naked dude, the sexy boy there with her in the Chinese restaurant, which would and then they go into the trailer at the end, so that makes you think about sex. But it's interesting. I don't know. I mean, the whole. Go ahead.
Oh, I was just curious if it was also a reference to that Fuji's interlude. I want 4 chicken wings fried hard and shit. I don't know if y'all remember that interlude.
I don't remember.
Like super famous interlude off the score. But yeah, that was the joke that stuck around with everybody. You know, I want 4 chicken wings fried hard and shit. So I thought maybe it was somehow a reference, but I don't know.
It could be. I mean, she definitely, like, she had an Audio 2 reference in, I don't know, it was like 2 tracks ago or something, and she drops those here and there, some more obscure than others, and I think, yeah, it could very well be.
And I mean, there are, I feel like, a lot of contrasts throughout the album. Like, I think that's kind of what it's about in a lot of ways, is like the drama and the comedy, the tragedy that's kind of tempered with lightness and surrealism, and escape from the tragedy through that in a way. And like sex and death are a common pairing too, if you're gonna look at it that way. Next up we got Pet Cemetery. This will be the last track I guess that we'll hear.
All dogs go to heaven. Heaven. I miss my dog. Heaven. I kiss my dog. Heaven. I miss my dog. Heaven. I kiss my dog. My dog had a name. Keep it his name alive. If I had to leave, hell on earth. All dogs go to heaven. My dog had a name. I'm gonna say his name. Keep it his name alive. I'm the one to blame. If I had to leave, he would do the same. Hell on earth.
And that one's definitely about death too. And actually, I realized the song before that, Unemployed, she shouts out Troy, her pet turtle that died 3 years prior to that song. So another death reference.
Yeah, and I think like you mentioned with the last one, this kind of play on light and dark. You know, so it's like this was the song out of the album upon first listen that like I left the house and it's like in my head, like this is the one that stuck immediately. And I was like, yeah, maybe there's something to it. So, yeah, I mean, I think it's like she plays with dog and God, and then I think she's talking about dog as her friend or just like any homies that had fallen, but also the dog as a pet, as like man's best friend, as your companion in life. So mourning, again, kind of both at the same time. And I think it also, like the all dogs go to heaven refrain is, you know, that promise that we're sold of, you know, of going to heaven and eternal life. And it's also, you know, like a Disney movie or something, right? So it's like this other belief that we're sold about pop culture and reinventing yourself, and that there's a happy ending. And I think, you know, in this song and other songs, she's critiquing that, the false sense of security of the American dream. Yeah, and I think, yeah, this is a nice, like, again, the visuals and the music are very different than the subject matter, and she kind of makes a mockery of it with these, the Muppets and the phony graveyard. It becomes a caricature. So it's like how we kind of stylize and package difficult things in life so that they're more manageable, and less threatening. And she's just like over committing to that idea, so holding on to it so literally that it becomes completely absurd and kind of hilarious.
Yeah. Yeah. Go ahead.
Oh, I was just thinking about more death stuff that runs throughout the videos. Because after this song, at some point, she's lying in a coffin for a whole song rapping, and then that coffin, I realized on like third viewing or something, like it shows this little house in the next scene, but it's actually like the shape of the top of the coffin. And then she like sticks her hands out of it, and then that house becomes this like weird, like magical thing that barfs out a cloud or whatever at the end. But there may be more like death in this album than we realize at first, I guess.
Yeah, I'm wondering if that's just a part of growing up in Philly and dealing with death like that, on a major basis. I remember too when this song popped up the first time I heard this album, it was one of those like relief moments, because the first half is so like somber and so like low. To hear something that had like some energy to it, I didn't even really catch like the whole until she sang the All Dogs Go to Heaven. I was like, oh, this is Pet Cemetery. That's ironic. But now that y'all are talking about that balance, all the balance and the light and dark aspects, I'm realizing that the album is kind of split in half like that, because most all the like more high energy or higher BPM songs are on the back end, and then all the like really mellow, heady stuff is kind of on the front end.
Yeah, sonically, I do prefer the second half. It's a little more, it's weirder too. There's just kind of weird shit going on, more experimental stuff, and maybe more of a lightness, even though, there's still darkness in there. But like, I think it's the next track after this where she's like cutting the balloons and she goes into that ridiculous like hillbilly voice, the super happy, like almost country melody.
Yeah, because she like teases it the first time she does it, and you hear it in your head and you want to do it, and then the second time she just fully commits to the corny like hillbilly voice. Yeah, it makes me laugh still every time I hear it.
Yeah,
I was thinking also to try to put her in context. Like I thought of like later Outkast videos and just how they stylize their imagery and were able to cross over, but still, kind of have meaning behind their lyrics, but really catchy tunes. So I thought that was kind of a touchstone, and maybe some of the stuff that Koo does from time to time, Boots Riley, and I thought the Atlanta series, like the second season, there's not all of it, but there's like 2 episodes that are really weird. And I don't know what's going on with that, but to me they were pretty amazing. And I thought like this is also in conversation with that, like this gothic inner city surrealism, hyper stylized, and people that are operating at the highest level. I mean, they're like the cultural influencers, like huge budgets, but they're being critical of the industry, critical of culture, and also critiquing their role at the same time. And I think I would put her in that category. It took me a while, I think, to realize that. And I don't know if you guys know Young Jake.
No.
You remember him? He had this song about the internet called Embedded. It was, I don't know, maybe 10 years ago or something. But I know about him because he kind of crossed over into the art world and was like really celebrated, and people really liked him. And I liked aspects of it, but I didn't know how sincere or if he was actually that masterful in like kind of playing this trickster role, or if he was just dumb and lucky. And I saw him when I was in Berlin last, and it was probably the worst performance I've ever seen in my life, and that includes any open mic, any amateur hour. I mean, it was completely pathetic. And then I realized, okay, like he's, I think, really lucky. Like he's got the right people around him, and he kind of plays the Andy Warhol like detached persona. And I think you can easily over intellectualize it and think that that's part of his strategy to kind of game the system. So at first I was kind of thinking about her work in that context. Like, am I being too charitable with these reads? And I thought, no, like the more I listened to it, I'm like, she's like right up there at the top, I think, with the best of them doing this in the mainstream. And I like that it made me think, and I like that it challenged me to kind of second guess my own taste, my assumptions. And it's pop music, but I wasn't able to be a passive listener. You know, she demanded more. I think that's really great. So I'm definitely a new fan.
Yeah, I think that's on point.
For sure. Watching the interviews with her too gave me a whole new appreciation of her, because she named 3 influences specifically that make 100% sense when you look at her visual musical mixture, which is Missy Elliott, Ludacris, and Busta Rhymes. Like, all of them are known for like very animated vocal performances, a lot of variety, and really memorable videos, you know. So, yeah. And then just hearing her talk about her relationship with her mom and the music was something I could really relate to, because my parents were like very much huge fans of music, and 100% the reason I became a DJ. And she was talking about how like she used to be in the back seat and her mom's just driving around, and like Jay-Z or DMX or something she likes will come on, and she'll just crank it like all the way up. So little Tierra Whack is sitting back there like 6, 8 years old, just taking in all this hip hop, and then watching her mom love it. So you just kind of gravitate to the music on a deeper level. So it all just seems like appreciation for the love of poetry and music, and then appreciation for the opportunity to share it on a bigger level.
Yeah, speaking of influences, something I read about her that I thought was interesting was she first started writing rhymes because she was inspired by Dr. Seuss. And then her first live rap performance was covering the finale song from Sister Act 2. So, you know, it's like seems to have a well-rounded, like colorful group of influences.
Yeah, she said she was at an art school and she had to fight to get the ability to do the Sister Act 2 performance. Like, they presented it and the school was like, no, you can't do it. It's like, but we're at a performing arts school, you know?
Yeah, I like that that she doesn't, I think, make distinctions in taste, and like is able to draw equally from Sister Act or Busta Rhymes or Alex DeCorte or Dr. Seuss, everyday life, you know, and existential questions. I think I like that she brings all of those things into conversation in her world that she creates.
You know what? I was thinking we could have a contest. Maybe we'll do this every episode. You know, answer in the YouTube comments. Like, what I was thinking would be a good question was what, like in the first song from Whack World, Black Nails. Why is it called Black Nails? Because she says red nails in the lyrics. The song's called Black Nails. Why she call it Black Nails? If you don't like that question, why does she say, I've changed like Wells? What's she talking about there? And I got this great prize. Whichever answer we like the best, you will win this rare cassette tape. This is the soundtrack to License to Thrill, Apparently, it's an extreme skiing movie sponsored by K2 Skis. It features 808 State, Hoodlum Priest, MC Tunes, and Nasty Rocks Inc. To win that, you win some Weird Rap stickers and this Sir Mix-a-Lot trading card.
I like that.
Edit out that part about the Sir Mix-a-Lot trading card. No, I'm just joking.
You know what I love? What I really love about this trading card, though, is if you see this dude in the back right
The
here.
hood on?
No, this one. There's also, the guy wearing the executioner's hood. But this guy on the side, he's holding one of those spanking paddles that like fraternities use. Anyways.
Man.
All right. Well, I think that does it for the Weird Rap Discussion Gang. Unless you happen to be a patron, for $5 a month, you can be part of just $3 a month, you can be privy to the after hours discussion. For $5 a month, you can join the Weird Rap Discussion Gang and watch these discussions live and interact with us via text. We will read and respond to your texts. And for all the rest of you, sayonara.